Hi, I'm Trip, the General Manager at Red Fox Resources. Thanks for checking out our YouTube video. Today what we're going to cover is two things. One, how to identify a diesel particulate filter from a diesel oxidation catalyst, and then where to find the relevant part numbers on each of those parts that'll help us determine what the relevant recycle value would be. So what I've got here is a diesel particulate filter. Generally speaking, they're going to be larger in size than the diesel oxidation catalysts. And the best way to sort of tell the DPF versus the DOC is by looking at the face. If you were to look at the face of this filter, it's kind of in a checkerboard pattern. That's an indication that it's a diesel particulate filter. The diesel oxidation catalyst, which we'll show you in a second, every channel would be open and it's a totally flow-through system. And the particulate filters, we're actually trapping the exhaust in these channels in here, and so you'll have an open side on one end. On the adjacent outlet side, that cell will be closed, and that's how that exhaust and that particulate matter is actually being trapped. So this is going to be actually the outlet side of the DPF, and you'll know that because it's clean, right? If you were to swing around and take a look at the inlet side of the filter, you'll see that's sort of more covered with soot and the actual exhaust and the diesel particulate matter. What I did want to show you also is where to identify the part numbers. About 2/3 down the filter, sort of along the seam of the weld here, you'll find a QR code, which is helpful to identify the part number, and then you'll see a CPN and an EPN. This is actually a Cummins diesel particulate filter, and both of those parts, the 2871578 as well as the 629458, would allow us to identify the recycle value of that part. Underneath that, the part numbers there, you'll see a QR code, and what will be underneath there is actually a serial number. The serial number is really just to track the filter and doesn't help us identify the value of the filter. And just those part numbers that we just showed you, that's basically all we would need to know to be able to determine what we would pay for your filter on a recycle basis. I did want to show you maybe one other filter here. This will be a Volvo. And again, this is a diesel particulate filter. Again, you can tell, again, you've got the checkerboard pattern here on the filter face. And if you want to swing around here, you'll be able to see clearly marked here the Volvo logo, and then you will have a part number, 212-12429. That number is what we would need, again, to determine the recycle value of the DPF. Along with this DPF system, typically upstream would be a diesel oxidation catalyst, which we'll show you now. And this is actually the exact mate to that Volvo DPF I just showed you. And one quick way to see, again, that this is the catalyst, not the DPF, is that if you were to look at the filter, or sorry, the catalyst face here, every channel there is open. So it's not that same checkerboard pattern, and that's an indication that this is the diesel oxidation catalyst, not the particulate filter. Again, could be in the same assembly, but in terms of recycling value, those are two separate parts, and we would buy each of those separately from you. In terms of determining the part number for the DOC, similar to the DPF, you'll see the Volvo logo there, and then a part number right below that. That's just that 217-56505 is what we would need to determine the value of that part. All right. We wanted to show you guys one other configuration of a part too, and how to find those part numbers. Simply put, in 2007, the EPA regulated all engine manufacturers to start to put DPFs on their engines. Prior to that, though, a lot of states had either some regulations or some grant programs that allowed for what we would call retrofit systems to be installed on diesel applications. And so you'll run into those part numbers out there, and we wanted to be able to show you kind of how to identify those. Generally, what we're looking at here, though, is a metal diesel oxidation catalyst. It's actually a metal foil, so the substrate is different than the two we previously looked at. It's not the checkerboard pattern of the diesel particulate filter, and it's not the direct flow through of the diesel oxidation catalyst. But what would follow this part itself in particular would be, with the same diameter, a diesel particulate filter. But if I want you to check out the engine tag there, and these tags were required for all the retrofit manufacturers to put on their parts as part of their verification that would allow them to be sold legally in California and then and actually in the 49 states. So what you'll see here, and the way to identify these is you'll see a long verification VDEX number. So that's that one that starts CAESW and kind of goes on, and it's got some meaning behind all those words. But what we were more curious about is the actual part number. So on this part specifically, you'll see a PN colon, and then you'll see some numbers imprinted in the data tag itself. That's the part number that we would actually need to find out the recycle value of that part. There typically would be a serial number under that, and again, similar to the DOC and the DPF, serial number typically doesn't help us identify the recycle value of the part. So that's a retrofit metal DOC. Hopefully you'll check out our website at www.redfoxresources with any other questions, or just get in touch with us at our 800 number, which is 1-844-RED-FOX-5. Thanks.